This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, second-round pick Anthony Belton, the only draft pick of the Packers, still unsigned. That's after first-round pick Matthew Golden signed his 4-year, $17.6 million deal yesterday. Golden was the third wide receiver taken in last month's draft after catching 58 passes for 987 yards and 9 touchdowns in his lone season with Texas. The 21-year-old already had plans for some of that money he got when his contract became official.
That's the house I grew up in when I was younger. That, it got taken away from us a couple of years ago. Just knowing that I'm in a position to be able to get that back for all my family, my little cousins that grew up there, just for everybody to go back home, just feel that energy. That's something my grandma always wanted. Before my great-grandma died, she always wanted one of her grandsons to make it to the NFL. I'm the last one standing there, and I made it.
Golden and the rest of the Packers going through phase 2 of their offseason program. They'll hit the field for phase 3 later this month for OTAs. Turn to the NBA. Former Badgers guard John Tonje took part in the NBA Combine last week, hoping to hear his name called during next month's draft.
I'm going into it open-minded and just trying to soak it all in. I didn't want to set too many expectations, but so far it's been great and a great experience, and just been super cool to be a part of it.
Many mock drafts have Tonje going in the second round.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin Strong. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Brewers and Orioles matching up again tonight at American Family Field. Milwaukee looking for a third straight win. Baltimore comes in having lost 7 straight. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, Prin.
It'll be a 2-out walk to Terang. Who else would you rather have at the plate right now than William Contreras, who has been on it all night long? He has been on base 4 times. Ground ball up the middle. Base hit! Terang coming around third. William with a 4-hit game gives the Brewers the lead in the 8th.
That away, William Contreras. My goodness, what a night for him.
William has very high expectations. No, he wasn't just good. He was great. Terang was fantastic. Don't forget, kind of an unsung hero. And Hoskins had 3 great at-bats.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
It's the penultimate play from last night. Contreras' go-ahead single, the bottom of the 8th. The Brewers went on to win 5-4. Little sound for Pat Murphy. He's talking in that exchange. He was asked, I believe, about William Contreras, saying, "Yeah, I had an okay night. I had a good night." Humble. He had 4 hits. And it's not just that he had 4 hits, it was the nature of those hits. I want to begin by talking about that for a couple of minutes. I also have a couple of NFL headlines from today that I want to get into here in our opening segment before we take our first break, and obviously get into some of your phone calls at 608-321-1670. It's going to be a real hodgepodge week. We're going to react to the Brewer game every night. If you listen to the show, my belief is live sports talk radio. You go on air, you talk about the thing that just happened, even if it's just for a couple of minutes. And if you only want to discuss the Brewers for 5-10 minutes tonight, that's fine with me. I want to talk about some NFL stories, some rule changes that are in play and that are getting voted on this week at the NFL meetings in Minneapolis, I think, actually. And I have some sound and some reporting from both Florio and from Albert Breer that we're going to pick through. And some of it's related to the Packers. And we're in a little bit of a holding pattern with the Bucks this week. I have heard your messaging in your texts and comments that you are a little sick of the NBA talk. So here's the deal. I'll only bring up Giannis if we get news. Chris Haynes reported last week that the Bucks and Giannis will be meeting sometime this week, or they should be. That was the report. I suppose plans could change, but that's what we were told. So I expect at some point this week we'll get a little something. I promise to not talk about the NBA or the Bucks or Giannis until that happens. Does that sound okay? All right, deal. This is the Wisco Sports Show. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Grant Bills. On Twitter at Wisco Grant, and the live stream up and running on Facebook and YouTube. If you look up the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills, would appreciate it if you subscribe to the YouTube page. You certainly don't have to, but also if you watch the show at all, it only takes a second and it doesn't it won't even notify you unless you press the little button. So you could technically subscribe, which supports me, and then you would never have to think about it again. Just something to think about as you consume your favorite sports talk show, or one of your favorite. I don't have to be your favorite. I just want you to press the subscribe button. That helps me out just a little bit. Mondays on the Wisco Sports Show, presented by In on the River in Trempealeau, inontheriverwi.com. Hopefully the weather gets a little bit better and it starts to look like it does in those pictures. Blue sky, sun is shining over the beautiful Mississippi River. So go online to make your reservation for the summer, inontheriverwi.com, or give them a call with any questions that you might have about a potential trip and weekend on the river. 608-534-7784. So William Contreras got 4 hits last night, which is significant. If the Brewers would have won 5-4 last night, but it was Isaac Collins who drove in all the runs, or it was Sal Frelick or Jake Bowers or Guy Strawman or whoever, it'd be nice. And it'd be preferable to a loss, right? I still prefer the Brewers to win, but it wouldn't be as noteworthy. And I don't know that I'd be as interested to talk about it today, because the path that the Brewers must take here to go from a team middling around 500 to a team that's scrapping above 500 and potentially in play for playoff spots or the division, or just a more relevant season that we've seen so far, the path that they need to take is a path that includes one or preferably two, or really preferably all three of Chourio, Yelich, Contreras getting going. Well, Yelich took the collar last night 0 for 4. So that's, that dream feels like it's dying on the vine. Chourio even worse. He went 0 for 5 with a strikeout. And I shared the heat map, or I guess the pitch map from the On Deck or On Base app, or whatever the MLB app is, where you can follow along the game and it'll show you the locations of pitches. I'll throw it on the live stream here if you're watching. This is what one of Jackson Chourio's strikeouts looked like last night. Just for reference, it seems that pitchers have found out that Jackson Chourio likes chasing pitches down and away. Can't help himself from chasing pitches down and away. So his struggles continue. And unless I missed something, he didn't get a hit last night. He now stands at 0 for 24, 0 for 25 now. I mean, he's really, really struggling, as is Yelich. But Contreras getting going, that could be interesting. I haven't had a ton of optimism about Contreras getting going because he has a broken finger. And I just think he's going to be limited. If Contreras was 100% healthy, I'd probably have a lot more optimism about him, and by extension, a little bit more optimism about the Brewers, because I do believe that William Contreras is really, really good. And at his best, he's one of the best players in the National League. He's been in the MVP conversation, at least as a piece around the edges, 4th or 5th place. And he's so impactful as a catcher. Like, when he's right and healthy, he's incredible, and he can power this offense, right? I just haven't had a lot of optimism about him getting it going because he has a busted finger. You use your fingers to grip the bat and swing the bat and hit the ball. That's really tough. And it would be one thing if it's like, oh, he slept on his shoulder weird and it needs a couple of days, or like he twisted his ankle, right? Those are the types of things that you get a day off and, you take it easy. Well, that can fix itself in a couple of days or in a week. A broken finger, if you're playing through a broken finger, I'm no doctor, but I don't think the finger is going to heal itself. It's probably just going to stay the way that it is until the player is put on the injured list, or the player has surgery, or until the offseason, when you can really let it be for weeks on end. So I haven't really had a lot of optimism about Contreras getting it going. And by extension, not a lot of optimism about the Brewers. If you're like, oh, Grant, I haven't heard any negativity. What are you talking about? Well, then go back and listen to tonight's show. Plenty of negativity about the state of the current Milwaukee Brewers, and a lot of angry calls about ownership and management. And I would prefer to just keep the complaining in the here and now, because there's plenty to complain about with the product on the field. Not only did Contreras get 4 hits last night and 2 RBIs, he took a walk as well. Really, really good night. But he hit the ball hard in all of those hits. So the hardest hit batted balls last night, I'll read them in order. Gunnar Henderson had a ground out that he hit at 111 miles an hour. The next hardest hit ball was William Contreras' double. He hit at 110. That's hard hit. Laureano hit a home run at 108. Cedric Mullins hit a home run at 107. Ramon Urias, or as Josh Mauer would say, Urias, at 107. Contreras then next, 105 mile an hour single. And then again at 7th, the 7th hardest hit ball of the game, William Contreras' single. He also hit a double at 100 miles an hour. All 4 of his hits were 100 miles per hour or more. And I understand that exit velocity isn't everything. In fact, I think I still have that soundbite of Rock a couple of weeks ago going, exit velocity is overrated, which I don't believe. Exit velocity is a little bit of an indicator, if nothing else, that the bat is being swung the right way. It's contacting the ball the right way. When you're hitting the ball hard, your range of outcomes improves significantly, right? When you're not barreling up the ball, when you're not squaring up the ball and hitting it hard, you're going to put the ball in play, but your batted ball outcomes aren't going to be nearly as good, right? A player like Caleb Durbin, and in fact, Jack Stern wrote about this today, and you should go read his story. It's brilliant, highlighting that, Caleb Durbin never strikes out. He's always putting the bat on the ball. The problem is he's hitting it soft and he's hitting it in the air, which is never going to work. You know what I mean? Like, you basically have to rely on a little flare falling behind the shortstop and in between outfielders, right? The percentage of that batted ball event, of a softly hit ball in the air, the percentage of that ending in something positive for the hitter is very, very low, which is why Caleb Durbin, I believe until last night, was riding like an 0 for 18, 0 for 19 until he had a hit and an RBI early on in the game. Joey Ortiz, much of the same, not as dramatic as Caleb Durbin, but also doesn't square the ball up, also doesn't barrel the ball. It would be one thing if Contreras had a couple hits last night and it was like a little flare and maybe a little infield dribbler. The third baseman couldn't get to it in time. And then maybe he snuck one right up the middle, the good soft contact, right, that just sneaks through and makes a play. But that's not what happened last night. Like, he scalded the ball 4 times. And when you hit the ball at 100, 105, 110 miles an hour, typically the results are going to work out. Not every single time, but most of the time. And I think I have StatCast open. They'll give you a percentage or an expected batting average, right, on batted ball events like this. So on his double, he had 110 miles an hour. The expected batting average is 870, meaning like there's an 87% chance it's going to end in a hit, right? The single that he hit at 105 miles an hour, 850, 85% chance of a hit, right? He hit his single at 103. Now, that ball wasn't hit as hard and it was hit a little bit lower to the ground, but still a batting average of 550. And the softest hit ball that he had last night at 100 miles an hour, closer to 101, it was 100.8, a batting average, an expected batting average of 490, right? That doesn't mean that just because you hit the ball at 110 miles an hour that it's going to end up in a hit. But most of the time, if you hit the ball really hard and at least hit it at somewhat of a decent angle, if you pound it into the ground, right, that expected batting average is going to drop a little bit. But Contreras hitting the ball, not only getting 4 hits last night, but hitting all of them really, really hard, bodes really well for what I can only describe as him figuring out how to hit with a broken finger. Because those are the, right, that's the undertaking that he undertook. Like, he has decided that the best course of action for him, or the course of action that he wants, whether it's correct or not, is I'm going to play through this and I will learn how to compensate for this bad finger and perform through it. And Brewers fans, I guess you just have to hope that the last couple of weeks he's been trying to figure out how to manage the broken finger, make any adjustments, and that he's now figuring it out. And hopefully last night is just a sign of things to come. I remain a little skeptical on that, just because I think it's really hard to hit with a broken finger. And I probably would have sat him down and put him on the injured list and got it figured out, because I think without some excellent version of William Contreras, this team's chances are next to nothing. But if he's able to be even 70% of his best self, well, this team really needs that right now, because they don't have much else, because Yelich is in the tank, Churrio's lost, and the rest of the lineup, other than Hoskins, of course, who's been excellent, absolutely stinks. So last night, hopefully, a sign of things to come. Still kind of a frustrating game to watch, but they won. Sometimes, and I said this to Bill, and I said this to Ebo this morning too, like, sometimes a win is significant just because it wasn't a loss. You know what I mean? Like, they were up 4-1 last night. And it's not that beating the lowly Orioles 5-4 is the biggest deal in the world, but the alternative was blowing a 4-1 lead in a game that you had at home when you haven't won the first game of a series or won a series in a while. Like, just a massive game last night as a result, but also hopefully an important sign of things to come for William Contreras, which is a piece that the Brewers desperately need to have any shot at climbing above 500 and maybe making some progress and playing better baseball late into the month of May and then into the month of June. Some NFL news today that I wanted to play for you. This is an update from Albert Breer. I believe I bookmarked this. Let me check real quick. I believe this is from the Dan Patrick Show. Yep, I just wanted to make sure. Talking about 2 rule changes that are being discussed between today and tomorrow. Now, flag football was voted through, and all or enough owners, I believe it's 24 of the 32, I think it's 24, it's the majority needed, said, yep, we're good with NFL players playing in flag football in the Olympics in 2028, which I don't really care about. I don't think I'll watch, but we can discuss that. Brian Gutekunst talked to Mike Flory about that and some concerns that he has. But the two big rule changes are playoff reseeding, meaning that like the Lions came out and are like, well, we didn't win our division, but we had a way better record than Washington. So what, you know what I mean? Like we want that game at home, or we, seeding overtaking actual divisional winning or losing or value. I'm wording this terribly, but I think you know what I mean, right? So the tush push and the Lions playoff proposal, the seeding, playoff seeding proposal. So here's Albert Breer talking about the likelihood that either one, the tush push or the Lions proposal, is going to go through between tomorrow and the rest of this week at the meetings in Minneapolis.
The tush push is going to be voted on. And I think that one, the commissioner of the league office really want to get that through. Whether or not it winds up winning the vote, I think is up in the air. My guess would be they push something through, but they have adjusted that. The Packers proposal has been significantly adjusted over the last 24 hours. And then you have the playoff seeding thing, which at least feels to me right now like more of they're setting the stage for 2026. I don't know that after only having a handful of teams supporting it in March that they're going to be able to vote that through tomorrow.
So we heard from Kalen Kaler on Bill's show a couple weeks ago during league meetings or owners meetings that the tush push was tabled and the Packers are going to tweak the language. So they've adjusted, and I think they have a little bit more oomph behind their proposal for a rule change now. It seems like a lot of connected people in the NFL think that's going to pass tomorrow. So we'll see. We can talk about that more after our first break. If you have thoughts, I'll take your calls. Also, and I did such a terrible job explaining the Lions proposal, but the Lions proposal is the 7 seeds in each conference will be decided strictly by their record, right? Not by wild card or division. A non-division winning team would be seeded higher than a division champion if they have more wins, right? Meaning if the Lions get second in their division at 12-5 or whatever it was, they would still host the Commanders, even though the Commanders wild card, that kind of thing. The Lions feel as though they should get a home game, even if they don't win their division, which I don't really like. I think I think success in your division should matter. That's easy for you to say when your team didn't win 12 games and then immediately have to go on the road in the playoffs. But, everyone's making fun of the Packers. Oh, they lost to the Eagles in the playoffs, so they want to get the tush push ban. I think this is a lot more about the league wanting to push this through, right? I don't know that this strictly came from the Packers. I think the league is kind of using the Packers as a little bit of a Trojan horse here. I think it's, people want to say that this is loser behavior from the Packers. What about the Lions? They're good for the first time in forever. They experience something that countless teams have experienced over the years, where you win a ton of games, but you're not good enough to win your division, so you go on the road. The Lions experience it once, and they throw a temper tantrum, and they want to get the rules changed, which is any team can propose anything, anytime. I'm not going to hold it against them, but I don't understand why the Packers are taking all these slings and arrows because of a result in the playoffs seemingly impacting a rule change that they want to push through, when it's happening with the Lions too. And I think what's happening with the Lions is even more embarrassing, because the Lions haven't been good in forever. They get good finally, and they come up short in a stacked division. They're like, we got to change this, when there's countless teams who have had to deal with this time and time again, and have just dealt with it, because that's the reality of the NFL. If you have thoughts on the Brewers, any of these rule changes, including tush push, playoff seeding, flag football, I will take your calls next. And at 4:35, we're going to connect with our friend Bart Winkler to pick over some of these things as well. Stick around.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
The tush push is going to be voted on. And I think that one, the commissioner of the league office really want to get that through. Whether or not it winds up winning the vote, I think is up in the air. My guess would be they push something through, but they have adjusted that. The Packers proposal has been significantly adjusted over the last 24 hours. And then you have the playoff seeding thing, which at least feels to me right now like more of they're setting the stage for 2026. I don't know that after only having a handful of teams supporting it in March that they're going to be able to vote that through tomorrow.
I know. I need to correct myself. The Lions won the division last year. Yes, I had forgotten about that. I had that backwards. In any event, I still don't understand. I don't understand why the Packers are taking all these slings and arrows for trying to change a rule that seems like this is the league's doing. Rossini reported that today. Albert Breer said that in the comment. You just heard that. That's audio from the Dan Patrick Show. And even going back weeks and weeks and weeks, all the way back to league meetings, owners' meetings, when Kaylin Kaler was reporting, and she said this on the Bill Michaels Show. Like, yeah, honestly, this seems like this is what the league wants. And they needed a team to champion it. And Mark Murphy was like, well, I don't care. I'm leaving anyway. Sure, I'll wear it. I don't understand why the Packers are getting flack for that. They lost to the Eagles, but it wasn't because of the tush push. If any team wants to grind an axe over the tush push, it should be the Commanders, because that game got turned into a clown car over the tush push. The Lions, though, much of the same. Like, the Lions haven't been good in forever. They actually have to battle it out in a division, which they won, and I was incorrect. They hosted the Commanders, lost anyway, didn't make a difference. I just don't understand why the Lions are getting away with this, and everyone wants to make fun of the Packers. Make fun of the Packers, I don't care. They're right. Like, they're right about the tush push. It's an awful product. The league should have done something about it when they had the chance before it reached this point years ago, and they did not. So now they're having the Packers do their dirty work for them, which is fine. I don't really care. Also, this flag football thing. I don't really care about it. I don't think I'll be watching flag football in the Olympics, but it won't be taking place until 2028. So I guess we'll have some time to stew on that. 608-321-1670 to your phone calls. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, it's Ed McQuanigo.
Hey, Ed, what's going on?
Oh, not much. I was listening to you and Bill today, and towards the end of your show, you had Mike Clemens on, and I love Mike Clemens. He's great reporting, very knowledgeable about Packers and everything. That being said,
I was going to say, here it comes, but
I'm curious why he's comparing Brett Favre to Robin Hood and talking about, like, oh, I don't know if more people, where that money even goes or what they do with it. At least he built something with it.
He did say that. And I'll be honest, I was getting some work done, so I was listening to Mike in one ear, so I didn't listen to him intently for the entire 2 segments he was on, but I did hear that, basically cutting Favre some slack, saying like, well, at least he did something with that money, and I didn't hear the full point that Mike was making. I think people still are looking for reasons to maybe cut Favre some slack. Look, we all make mistakes and dumb things. I'm not going to grandstand against Favre to make myself feel better, but he's done some bad things. Like, I think we should all be able to admit that, right, Ed?
Right. I get that. And I love Brett Favre, and in my mind, I can separate the two things. Like, I loved him as a NFL player. I loved him as a Green Bay Packer, but I think he's a bad human being. He just is. And I think Mike needs to go home and watch Robin Hood, or at least like Men in Tights or something, because I don't think he gets the premise.
Robin Hood would probably steal the money that was meant for the volleyball facility to distribute it to the poor people. Robin Hood would probably go the other way.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Favre doc yet? I'm going to watch it tonight when I get home.
No, I think I'll watch it. It's got me intrigued for sure.
Well, apparently, so I knew Bill was in it. Apparently, he's in they use so much of it. He's like the narrator, basically. It's what Zach told me, because he watched it this morning and Mike watched it too. I know, so I'm kind of excited to see our guy Bill on the silver screen. Netflix, how about that?
That'd be cool. Maybe he'll repeat the phone number, 608.
Just to remind people. The funny thing about, and Ed, that's a great call. I appreciate it. The funny thing about, so Zach sent me a screenshot of Bill, and it's, he's in his studio. This is on the Fall of Favre doc with Netflix. And behind Bill is his Point Brewing neon. So Bill gets some great run from this because he's on a Netflix documentary that a bunch of people are going to watch. So the Bill Michaels show in his studio, and it looks great. But then this neon sign, which is behind him when he does the show every day, it just says Point Brewing. What a windfall for Point Brewing. Are you kidding me? Like, just unintentionally, because it's there during the show and it was lit up red and green. Like, Point Brewing in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, it would be one thing if it was Liney's or Miller Lite, you know what I mean? But Point Brewing gets all this screen time in a Netflix documentary because, and this is smart, if you are a sponsor or an advertiser of something, send them stuff. Send them stuff. I love my Kai's Chevytown sweatshirt. Wear it all the time. Now, if anyone wants to put me in a Netflix thing, I'll make sure to wear it. I joked with Bill earlier today. I tell you what, if something ever goes down with Craig Counsell, and Netflix needs to make a documentary about him one day, they better come to me as the critical Wisconsin sports host. Spurned Brewers fan and radio host by Craig Counsell. The Fall of Favre. And the Point Brewing neon throughout it all. Oh, what a great freebie. What a windfall for Point Brewing. I'm going to have to get one of those Drop Dead Blondes, I think, just to celebrate. Maybe I'll drink it while I watch it tonight. I haven't seen it. I've seen some pictures Zach sent me, and Bart Winkler, who's going to join us in about 5 minutes here, watched it as well. He's like, yeah, Bill's basically narrating the thing. Badger Bloodies tweets in, says, Brett Favre, better football player than human being, and it's not particularly close. Yeah. I do have, and I've talked about this with Bill, because Bill probably has as much knowledge and as much experience around Favre and Favre's camp as most people, because he was around Favre's dad all the time too, doing the post-game show and being with the Packers in the late 90s. And I've had great conversations just in the car when we were at the Super Bowl, driving into New Orleans every day. Like, I don't ask Bill endless questions, but if we're going to talk about the Packers, like, man, tell me, what was Favre like? What kind of things did you hear and see? And it is my loosely educated but somewhat educated opinion that Favre is not the best person in the world. I don't think Favre is evil. I think Favre is very childish. I don't think Favre is very smart. I don't think he has great inhibition, weighing the consequences of his actions. I don't think it's something that I just don't think things weigh on him. I think he does what he wants because he's, for the most part, throughout his life and career, been able to get away with it. I also think that Favre comes from a very unique set of circumstances, and it's a set of circumstances we might not see in the NFL again in a quarterback, because now the most talented quarterbacks go to academies and they go to college and they make money, and it's just different. But Favre comes from this small town, and he's got his entire family and probably a large portion of his community with their hand out, expecting to be taken care of and paid for, and that's something that Favre no doubt had to deal with. So there's a lot of factors at play with Favre That's not to excuse any of the bad things he's done. I don't think Favre is evil. I think he's selfish and not very smart. I don't think he always recognizes the consequences of his actions, but I also don't think he cares. You know what I mean? Like, I think he does what he wants, and he doesn't care how it affects other people. I don't think he's evil. I don't think he's the worst human being on the planet. I think he's selfish and not very smart and inconsiderate and all of those things. But I'll stop a couple steps short of saying that he's the worst human ever or evil or awful. I think he's somewhere in between. And obviously this very unique set of circumstances, being drafted to Green Bay and kind of getting run of the mill. There's just a lot going on there. We could talk about this more, but I want to take a break so we get to our friend Bart Winkler on time. We're going to talk a little bit about Favre. Bart's more than familiar as a Packers shareholder and a fan of the Packers in the 90s. And we'll talk about, I promise, no NBA. I told Bart, it's like, I can't do NBA. I think I've been beating that horse a little too hard the last couple of days. So we'll chat with Bart, but all things Wisconsin sports, and I'll pick his brain about Favre as well. We'll continue the show with Bart next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Grant, did I give you anything to go into your show with tonight? Did I feed you any material?
I think so. It's a quiet week.
Do you want to guest at 4:30? I can come on.
Sure. Do you want to eulogize Norm from Cheers? I've never seen the show. That was earlier this afternoon. I was recording our weekly podcast, an episode in the Winklerverse with Paul Immig and Bart Winkler, and I was belly aching that it's been a slow week, and a lot of you keep bullying me for bringing up the Bucks. Call me crazy. I think it's significant that Giannis, one of the biggest athletes in Wisconsin history, might leave, but I've heard you loud and clear. I will stop talking about that, but you only leave me so much real estate, so I was complaining about that, and Bart goes, do you want to guest at 4:30? I can come on, and I don't remember I thought I sounded more excited when I said yes. So. It's a quiet week.
Do you want to guest at 4:30? I can come on.
Sure. Do you want to eulogize? I remember being more excited because I'm always excited to have Bart on. Let's bring him in. Bart Winkler of the Infinity Sports Network, nighttime and nationwide. Bart, I was more excited than I made it sound. I'm sorry about that. That was not.
In the moment, I was like shocked how much of a dismissal you gave my suggestion.
It wasn't a dismissal. I hadn't thought about it. And I don't like to bring guests to. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Every couple of weeks, you just did Neil Diamond week. But this is a night where I think we're right in your wheelhouse because George Wendt passed away. And I've said for years when you joined the show, there's nobody better to talk about network TV and sitcoms, American television, not the art, the streaming service, the Successions or the Severance, although you're great at that too. The Randy Newman, right down the middle, heart of America television. That's your wheelhouse. So do you have anything to say about George Wendt, the passing of Norm from Cheers earlier today?
Well, I think, that's one that he's had a big impact culturally with him on SNL as well. He was one of those Bears guys. A little bit of a sports angle. I know you do a sports show.
Correct.
But it's just when you watch people, and then it's just I was kind of shocked because you had told me, and I was shocked, and he was in his 70s, and I don't know, everybody. I just turned 41, and what I was telling people that was where they would say something, I would say 41 down, hopefully 41 to go, and I would take 82 right this second.
You'd lock that in as an outcome.
But Norm, George Wendt, Norm's one of those classic sitcom characters. He never saw his wife. He always wanted a beer. He ran up a tab he never paid. And I first got into Cheers when I was in high school via reruns. I would not sleep, basically. I didn't want to go to bed. My routine was always 11:35, Conan O'Brien. Cheers didn't come on till 1, though. Cheers came on at 1 and 1:30 on Nick at Night. So I would have to, I don't know what I passed the time doing for 20 minutes as a growing young adult male. Jeez. What could I have done in the privacy of my bedroom between Conan and Cheers? Especially knowing Rhea Perlman was coming on my screen. But no, they're always sad, and this one's sad.
That's a good, hold on, I'm going to clip that. They're always sad, and this one's sad. We were talking about sitcoms not that long ago because Nate Bargatze kind of went viral. He did an interview with The Hollywood Reporter where he was complaining that like all the shows are Succession. Like everyone's like, look at my art. And he was basically complaining that there are no King of Queens or Everybody Loves Raymond or Cheers anymore. And I know that's something that you relate with too.
Well, I think that America needs a 1980s primetime network TV schedule.
Okay.
I think we need Home Improvement, followed by an all-new Grace Under Fire, followed by Roseanne, and then at 9, NYPD Blue. You know, like,
so good.
We had a collective thing that we all did.
Yeah.
And yes, you watch a streaming show, and maybe I watch a streaming show. And sometimes like Game of Thrones will take over or White Lotus, but even still, that is a fractured amount. You used to slap together a 3-camera comedy, whether it was funny or not. I mean, it had to pass certain screeners and get on TV and be accepted. But like, what do we celebrate when, I can't believe 3 million people downloaded the newest episode of Stranger Things. Oh, great. 25 million people a week used to watch Home Improvement.
At the same time.
At the same time. And so you could go to somebody at work. Hey, did you catch ER last night?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Thursday at 9. I am dialed in.
Yeah.
Always. And we don't have that. Even like sports. This NBA game tonight, 5 million people are going to watch.
There's an NBA game on tonight?
I think there is. I know your
Pacers
audience clamors for it.
Yeah, we're really dialed into the NBA right now on the West Coast.
No, the Western Conference starts tonight.
Oh, okay. Which is weird because that series wrapped up more recently than Pacers Knicks.
Yeah, it's weird. So that's why don't be surprised if the Timberwolves steal one with the Thunder on short rest. I know your audience wants.
It's not like it's just a couple texters, but you know this, like one person tweets you repeatedly about something and it gets in your head. So that's what I'm.
One person tweeted me a couple Fridays ago. Okay. One person tweeted me a couple of Fridays ago when I was tired and beat down, and Carlos, the executive producer, wasn't there. So the show loses a little bit of, and he said, man, you really phoned in the last 45 minutes. And I don't think I've ever completely phoned in anything, but it was not my best product.
I don't think you can phone in live radio. Like, I don't think it's possible to.
But then I found out there's this show in Detroit that took one of the calls, re-aired it, and it was me just like letting this guy talk because I'm like, oh, thank God, a caller. I can get 45 seconds of rest.
Yeah.
So they took the worst part of my week, and that's how you always got to be on. That's why when I come on these appearances, I'm always just as sharp as a tack.
Nighttime and Nationwide. That's Bart Winkler. I need to find something to keep myself awake until the beginning of your show. I share a bedroom now, so I don't know what you were referring to, but a little different. So a couple of NFL rule changes, the tush push, flag football, and the thing that the Lions are presenting, like division or not division, we just want to seed based on record. Do you have strong opinions on any of those rule changes?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Grant. The tush push should be illegal. The biggest issue is that I have with this argument. First of all, it doesn't seem like a natural thing. They are literally pushing a guy with the ball. How is that? That's not the football I grew up with.
No.
Literally, because they changed the rule, two literallys. They changed the rule in 2005, and that's all the Packers are trying to get back to, is with the rules now, if somebody wanted, they could pick up Saquon Barkley and just carry him like a baby to the end zone. What is that? So that needs to go away, and the tush push should be a part of it. My biggest issue with that is when somebody like us on the right side of history say we need to ban the tush push. Oh, you don't like it? You don't like the tush push? Well, then try and stop it.
Get better.
Get better. Try and stop it. Oh, okay. We watched the NFC championship game, right? Mm-hmm. We watched the Commanders try and stop it. And they were trying to time when they could get over the huddle, and they kept being called off sides. Well, no, you can't do that. And if you keep doing that, we're just going to give Philadelphia 6 points. What? So not only can I not stop it, but I'm going to try to stop it, and you're going to give the other team points. So they did try to stop it, and you didn't let them. So that needs to go. The divisional thing, divisions are sacred. We've already aborted them in the NBA. We don't care. MLB, we're going away from them. Used to play these crappy teams 20 times a year. Now you're lucky if you see the Reds before July 4th. Should mean something. And the NFL, yeah, you play one team. You play them twice. 3 different teams. You play your division. There's a reason to have divisions. And now you want to say if you win a division, you don't get a home game? I mean, it should be something. And why are the Lions proposing this? It hasn't affected them.
This is what's bothering me. And I misspoke because I had it in my head at the beginning of the show that the Lions lost the division to the Vikings, and then they went on the road. So that's not what happened. The Lions won the division, hosted a playoff game, and lost. I just think it's funny that the Lions aren't getting flack for this because the Lions have been ass my entire lifetime. They finally get good, and they need to battle in their division to the final week, and they're like, well, this seems a little silly. When the rest of the league and all the fans around the league should be like, welcome to the party, pal. You know what I mean? Like, this is something that countless teams have been dealing with forever. So I realized the Lions didn't have to go on the road last year. I just think the timing is suspect. Plus, the league is using the Packers as a Trojan horse to try to get this tush-push thing banned, right?
I agree.
People see that.
And it's not an owner that you
it's been reported.
But then the Eagles have had success against the Packers, so
not because of that. That's not how that game was.
I know, but people are, Jordan Love can't do it. So Mark Murphy better be getting a sizable bonus from the league on the way out. And regarding flag football, with all due respect, because I back the badge, but anyone who is pro flag football is a cop. Okay? Flag football is stupid. It is a lesser version of the good thing. So if you're growing up and, you don't want 7-year-old brains to smatter against each other, introduce them flag football. And then you get to the real thing. I see people fanficking what best NFL team would be for flag football. We already have these guys doing the thing we like, is the football. Why do I want to see them do NBA should do a 3-on-3 league? Yeah, you know who watches that 3-on-3 league? Nobody, because it sucks.
Yeah.
Because it's not the thing we like. So I don't like, the NFL's getting involved because if they don't have ownership of it. They're going to miss the boat. So I don't mind their predatory behavior to take this thing over. But I don't want, it's going to be a topic. Do you want Josh Jacobs playing in the Olympics?
No.
And I'm going to say no.
Goody said that to Florio today. He added a Pro Football Talk. Goody's like, I don't want my guys getting hurt doing this.
And getting hurt playing, if you go play football and you get hurt like a man. But if you go flag football like you're part of the resistance, get out of here.
Well, and I know there's some people, Tyler Dunn, front of mind, who's this is their version of the libs want you to eat the bugs. This is how we're going to get rid of meat eventually, but we're going to start putting flag football in there, and this is eventually going to replace. I don't think that's true.
This is the paper straws of the Olympics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Bart Winkler is here. We got time for one more. I know I told you about an NFC North hypothetical. Would you prefer to do that or a Brett Favre conversation that came to me about 10 minutes ago on the talk and text line from Bobby in Menominee? You can pick one. Pick a lane.
Well, I'd like to pay respects to the listeners, so I would take Bobby.
Okay. I said of the Favre doc because it came up. I don't think Favre is evil. I think he is a mix of not very smart and very immature and also some dash of bad guy. Because no one's inhibition is that bad where you can consistently do things to people and truly not care how it impacts them, right? And Bobby and Menominee texts in and he says, okay, but he's not Michael Vick, right? He's not on that level of evil. And I said, well, you know what? Michael Vick did, like the Daryl quote from The Office, Vick did his time. Like he went to prison. He owned up to it. He rehabilitated himself. And now he kind of recognizes his wrongdoing, which Favre has never done. So now I've been weighing like who is worse or what is worse? Because I think Vick's crime is worse. But we all make mistakes. If you own up to it, I think that's people's issue with Favre. A lot of people's issue with Favre is like he keeps doing this crap, which would be one thing if he came out and said that was bad. I definitely shouldn't have done that. I will do what it takes.
What if Brett Favre ran a dog fighting ring?
What if he did?
Would he go to prison?
I don't know.
I don't either. I don't know what question I'm asking there either.
I definitely don't know what I'm answering. Do you get what I'm kind of saying though? Like, two very different situations, and Vic is in the documentary.
For no reason.
Well, I think what AJ told us earlier this week is they wanted someone who had been at the top, made a mistake, and had to come back from it, where Favre has just like done this stuff and then threatened to sue anybody who called him on it, and then just kind of goes into hiding in the South and is like, well, this will blow over until eventually, I do something else.
There's just certain guys that like they're relying on, because Favre is likable.
We can't quit him, or so many people can't quit him. Yeah.
One of the things when I talked to AJ Perez was I said, I know all these things about Favre. And if you watch this doc, like you'll be like, God, Favre was the best. And then at the end, you'll be like, ooh, I wish I never thought Favre was the best. But I can like say things about Favre and trash Favre. I know if like Favre came to my door to sell me solar panels for my home,
yeah,
I would buy him for the block.
Yeah.
Like this, I would be entranced with his personality. And some guys are just like that. And that's why he was able to get away with so much stuff. And there was one thing in the documentary where they say, when you start to like have this thing where you're God everywhere you go, you do get detached from reality. And you think, well, why can't I misappropriate funds? It's not, I don't think you look at it in the sense of what I'm doing wrong to people. You're thinking of what I'm doing right to somebody else,
sure,
even if that somebody else is you.
Yeah. And I also just think he's not very bright. I think that's the center of so many of his transgressions, is that he's just not the brightest human being. But that does have a limit. Like at some point, that's not an excuse, right? Like straight up ignorance or lack of intelligence doesn't.
Well, I mean, he went to school at Southern Mississippi. We're not talking to a
UW lacrosse grad, correct?
Right.
Yeah. Harvard of the Midwest. Well, Bart, it's appreciated. Thank you for offering to come on. And I know you didn't hear it in my voice when I told you yes earlier today, but I am always excited to have you on. Thank you for this.
I'm in a good mood. It's raining, so I got to cancel my soccer practice for my kids.
Yeah, you coach, right?
I coach.
When you get the night off. Well, enjoy it, Bart. I appreciate the time.
Bye, Grant and friends.
Bart Winkler, the Infinity Sports Network. Appreciate his time. Follow him on Twitter, Blue Sky, Facebook, all the places, his YouTube podcast I do with Paul once a week. Yeah, let's play that one more time. I swear I was more excited than I sounded here.
Grant, did I give you anything to go into your show with tonight? Did I feed you any material?
I think so. It's a quiet week.
Do you want a guest at 4:30? I can come on.
Sure. I swear I deep down inside, I was excited. I don't know why it didn't come across like that. We'll wrap up hour number 1 of the Wisco Sports Show next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show. Got about 2 minutes. We'll pause and get Zach's update here at 5 o'clock. A lot on the table tonight between last night's Brewers win. I think more important than the win was Contreras getting 4 hits and hitting the ball hard in all of those hits. They weren't just little flares or infield hit, dribbler type things. Like those were legit line drives, hard hit balls. Is that a sign that he's figuring out how to hit with a broken finger? Because that finger is not going to heal. You don't play through a broken finger as a catcher of all things and have your finger get progressively better. So this is a matter of him learning to play with a broken finger. And maybe if he can do that at a 70% clip, like can he be 70% of the player that he can be fully healthy? That will make a big difference for this version of this Brewers team with Churio in the can, Yelich in the can, especially against lefties. Not that stopped Murphy from hitting him cleanup tonight as a DH. Makes it even worse. 70% William Contreras with a broken finger, if he can be that, helps this team. So let's start there. Let's see if we can do anything with that. Contreras can do anything with that because the Brewers need it. 2-minute update from Zach Hopper, and we'll come back. Brewers on the table. Favre, NFL rule changes. A lot to get to in hour number 2.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Brewers will look for a 3rd straight win tonight when they take on the Orioles again at American Family Field. Last night's game was all about William Contreras. He went 4 for 4 with 2 RBI, including driving in what proved to be the game-winning run in the 8th inning. He did it all despite having a fractured middle finger on his left hand. Many players would have shut it down, had surgery, but not Contreras.
It's great, to be honest. I feel like happy for myself. I've been working hard from last year. I don't want to stop with my finger, but still better. I have to have another great day today.
Contreras told reporters that his big night at the plate was just okay. Manager Pat Murphy got a good chuckle out of that.
William has very high expectations. He wasn't just good. He was great.
Again, it'll be the Brewers and Orioles tonight. Logan Henderson going to make his 3rd career start. He's 2-0 with a 2.45 ERA. Baltimore going to counter with Keegan Aiken. He'll be making his 2nd start and 22nd appearance of the season, sporting a 3.27 ERA. First pitch is coming up at 6:40.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, That's Wisconsin Strong. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Packers have all but one of their 2025 draft picks under contract. That's after Matthew Golden signed a 4-year, $17.6 million deal that is fully guaranteed. Wide receiver was the Packers' first-round pick. The only pick unsigned, second-round tackle Anthony Belton. Packers are in the middle of Phase 2 of their offseason program. Phase 3 starts later this month with OTAs. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, Print.
It'll be a 2-out walk to Terang. Who else would you rather have at the plate right now than William Contreras, who has been on it all night long? He has been on base 4 times. Ground ball up the middle. Base hit. Terang coming around third. William with a 4-hit game gives the Brewers the lead in the 8th.
That away, William Contreras. My goodness, what a night for him.
William has very high expectations. No, he wasn't just good. He was great. Terang was fantastic. Don't forget, kind of an unsung hero. And Hoskins had 3 great at-bats.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
Hour number 2, Wisco Sports Show. Am I missing some college football news? So I was under the impression that King Liggins, 3-star defensive lineman, was choosing tomorrow between Illinois and Wisconsin. But I've seen Scary Alvarez and others tweet about losing recruiting battles to Illinois. Did we learn something? Because I'll dump on the Badgers for losing a recruit to Illinois, but not until it becomes official. So did King Liggins commit? Vagabond John, are you out there consuming this content? Maybe if he calls in, I can ask him. I can lean on that, lean on him for that, I should say. Hour number 2, plenty of different things on the table, and I would love to take your calls on all of it. 608-321-1670. Between NFL rule changes today, William Contreras and the Brewers' performance last night. We could talk about that. And the fall of Favre is now available to watch on Netflix. Bill Michaels, a prominent role, apparently. I have not watched it yet. I knew he was in it. I didn't know how much. So I'm excited to get home and watch that tonight. I guess it's about an hour. Favre is a fascinating character. And I've been going back and forth a little bit with Bobby and Menominee. To be clear, I'm not saying dogfighting is okay, and I'm not saying that Vic is a choir boy. I'm pointing out that nature of his crimes aside and nature of Favre's crimes aside, for the most part, Vic served time, owned up to his missteps, did the things necessary to rehabilitate himself, and from what it seems, has the respect of people in the sports and sports media community, for whatever that's worth. Doesn't mean that what he did was okay. Obviously. And Vic is in the thing. So I feel like there is, at least on some level, a half-decent reason to bring up Vic in a conversation when trying to kind of psychoanalyze and go through Brett Favre's history and exactly how we're supposed to think and feel about him. So if you have any interesting thoughts or anything to add on that, I'll take your calls. I don't have much more to say on Favre. Before we get into those calls, Tuesdays on the Wisco Sports Show presented by In on the River in beautiful Trempealeau, Wisconsin. If you're not aware or not familiar, Trempealeau is just a little bit north of La Crosse. If you're familiar with Lake Pepin, you're going to get a really similar vibe. And In on the River is what it sounds like. It's on the river. In fact, it's right across the street from the bank of the river, and the street is a really, really quiet dead-end street. So it's not like you're staying on this loud highway. All the rooms have a patio and a balcony that look right out over the beautiful river. You can see the bluffs on the other side. The river in Trempealeau, and for what it's worth, south of La Crosse, down towards Stoddard and Genoa, much bigger, grander, wider. The scenery is just awesome. And In on the River is within walking distance. It's right there by the marina. If you want to bring a boat to cruise or fish for the weekend, it's across the street, or I guess kitty corner, from the very famous Trempealeau Hotel, where they have live music throughout the summer. Sullivan's Supper Club down at the end of the way, an iconic quintessential Wisconsin supper club. Oh yeah, and you're also within driving distance of Perot State Park, Trempealeau Mountain Golf, El Maro Vineyard. An awesome spot for a Wisconsin summertime weekend, and the rooms are really reasonable. And when I was there a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about this with the two owners. They're like, yeah, it's unbelievable what is charged for hotel rooms these days. It's absolutely unbelievable. So they're not looking to take advantage. You bet with that location, those rooms, they could charge way more than they are, but they want to make it very accessible for families to come visit, have a little Western Wisconsin getaway, or for fishermen, or for people to come during all sorts of festivals throughout the summer. So inontheriverwi.com or give them a call. They'll help set you up and answer any questions that you have. 608-534-7784. Okay, to your phone calls on whatever. Everything's on the table that we've discussed through 1 hour so far. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Eric on I-90.
Good evening, Eric on I-90. Now, what have you called in to talk about before I say what I was going to say?
Well, I mean, there's so many topics now. I mean,
Yeah.
How much time do you have?
Well, we got another hour, and you are the only caller on the line. There's nobody behind you. Doesn't mean that we have 20 minutes here, but
we're going to have to get Survivor in. But you talked about Sullivan's. Oh, my God.
Oh.
What a fabulous restaurant.
and the salad bar, the relish tray. Oh, yeah. And what's great, you look right out over the river, and the train tracks go by. Oh.
The food is outstanding. The drinks are outstanding. Everything about that experience is outstanding.
It's the best.
Highly recommend.
I agree.
Highly recommend going to that motel, going up to Sullivan's, and having a great bite to eat.
You can walk up the way.
Right.
So you can overserve yourself at dinner if you'd like. Don't have to worry about driving.
You could. And then you could just walk right back. It's outstanding idea.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So did the rules change today then?
So
Did they change the rules?
the only rule that's been changed today, the other two significant rules that are getting voted on tomorrow are the tush push and the playoff seeding, where the Lions just want to seed not based on whether or not you won your division, but just your record. So that gets voted on tomorrow. Consensus seems to be that that's not going to pass, but the tush push might. Today was flag football. So what they voted on today was NFL players will be allowed to participate in the Olympics and flag football starting in 2028.
Well, that's about the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But,
It's not for me, but that's fine.
But I'm just going to say that the Packers look a little bit like the NFL Karen on this tush push thing, just a little bit. Even if you don't like the play,
That's
they're
fine.
whining just a little bit about it.
Well, do you like the tush push, Eric?
I don't like the play in particular, but I don't want to, just because somebody can do something, I don't think it's right that we have to stop them because they're good at it.
Everyone's got to stop being so concerned with what everyone thinks of you. If you think you're doing what is right, then do it. Don't be so concerned about what the Joneses next door think or the other owners, which, by the way, this is why the Packers were selected by the league, or that's what everyone seems to believe. They came to the Packers and said, look, you don't have an owner. Mark Murphy's on his way out. Nobody has to wear this. You do it. Because these owners who make billions, they're some of the most powerful people in America, and they're so afraid of what Jerry Jones or whoever, fill in the blank, Ziggy Wilf. Oh, I can't have Ziggy Wilf thinking I'm a total puss. Come on, man. You're worth hundreds of millions or billions of dollars. Grow up and do what you think is right. I think it's lame.
Well, that makes perfect sense then why the Packers are doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying the Packers were coerced into doing this.
I think the Packers probably wanted to get rid of it like a lot of teams do, but it's easier for the Packers to be the face of this thing because they don't really have a face.
Right. Well, I guess it's fine if it gets outlawed in the NFL, and then we can just watch Jalen get the first down anyway, right?
Yeah, then he can quarterback sneak it like God intended.
Yes. And then, so the most important thing I want to talk to you about was I watched last week's episode of Survivor.
Okay, so let's set up the finale tomorrow night, because I would imagine that everyone is just about caught up. So give us the Eric spin.
That was probably one of the best blindsides I've ever seen pulled off.
Of Shaheen.
Yes. They totally duped the guy who's winning all the, I can't think of his name.
Joe and Eva. Yeah, they basically, for those who don't watch Survivor, which I would bet is a good amount, basically some people who are not in the main core of the alliance convinced two of the most powerful players in the game to vote out someone who is very much with them. That's basically what they convinced them to do. And they did it by lying, which I don't always love. I don't like when people just make stuff up, but it's Survivor. So what are you going to do?
that's the game. That's the game that they all sign up for. So at some point you have to do that. I thought that was a fantastic, and the way that they did that at the tribal council with the, with the special effects and zooming in on him, and all the things that were going through his brain, I thought that was outstanding. I got to hand it to Probst on that. I really do. I really do.
Do you think? Who do you think's going to win?
That Kamala, is it Camilla?
Camilla, yeah. That's what I'm pulling for.
She's pretty smart. She's been moving right along through this, and both those two deserve to win. Either one of them. When you're working a crowd like they are, they've been lying the whole time. They've been lying the whole time by not telling everybody what's going on. So, no, excellent show. I thought it was great, and I'm looking forward to the finale. So.
The last couple of weeks, that's a good call, Eric. That you need nothing more. Thank you. I appreciate it. So Kyle and Camilla have been working secretly together this whole season, and it's been kind of fun to watch. I don't know that they've exercised their secret partnership as much as they should have. They certainly haven't exercised it as much as they could have. And look, if Kyle wins immunity or Mitch wins immunity or Camilla, because Camilla's the only one in this game who can do a friggin' puzzle. She's the only one with a brain. Not that it's mattered in the season because all of the challenges have been strength-based, which has been kind of lame. It should be a mix, right? There should be a little strength, but then also you should be able to put together a slide puzzle, man. Come on. Don't just decide this game by Joe holding onto a pole for 25 minutes. I don't like that. But if Joe or Eva wins immunity, then it doesn't matter that they voted out Shaheen because Eva's got 2 advantages. And if Joe makes it, he's probably going to win anyways. So I wonder if it's too little too late. I think they might have bided a little bit too much time. But there you go. There's your Survivor minute or couple minutes for tonight's show. 608-321-1670. Tim and Prairie du Chien. So just a little added tidbit about George Wendt. He graduated from Campion High School in Prairie du Chien. Did he really? I didn't know that. There's always Wisconsin connections, man. And I don't pretend to be a Cheers expert. I've never seen the show. I just know of its significance. And I know that sometimes when you walk into a bar, everyone yells, Norm! So I know old references, even if I haven't consumed the source material. 608-321-1670. NFL rule changes. Favre, Conteras, Brewers last night. Anything's on the table. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
This is John in Cornell.
Hey, what's going on? I was up. You know what, John? I was up near your neck of the woods this last weekend for a wedding. I was in between. I was north of Wheeler, just a little down beneath Prairie Farm, and a little to the west of Otter Creek.
Okay. Sounds like you had a good time.
I had a great time. I felt like I was at home, which I guess I was. It's very close to where I grew up. But anyways, I thought of you.
Oh, cool. That's great. My question. So yesterday, somebody was talking about the Brewers and not, why are we always bashing leadership? Not you. Someone called in and mentioned that. And they're like, why are we questioning leadership? Brewers haven't gotten anywhere. I'm not a baseball guy, but this would be my argument. If the team isn't doing well, it doesn't matter how good you were. Like the Brewers this year obviously aren't doing that well.
Mm-hmm.
If the Packers, like the first year of Jordan Love, they went like 3-5 or 3-6 in the first 9 weeks, and everybody started questioning, like, well, what the heck's going on? Like, the coach should be fired. Like, the GM's an idiot. This guy can't play. Like, it's all part of the game. Like, if you're not, it's all part of the sport to question what is leadership doing.
Yep.
Even as a Browns fan, it's like, okay, they roped in Deshaun Watson. Well, he was a total complete disaster. And some of us saw that from the beginning. They're like, well, what the fudge do we have now?
Yeah.
Like, it's, to me, you have to question leadership. And if you're not questioning leadership, then I don't know. What's the point, I guess?
If the Packers start 1-4 this season, I mean, John, can you imagine what people are going to say about the team? LaFleur, Goody, Love. Let's just say that.
They're going to freaking flip out.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could even say, like, even something as simple as, like, well, some people say, well, the Packers should have kept Aaron Rodgers. Well, if Aaron Rodgers had taken the Jets to the Super Bowl, then, yeah, management was pretty stupid,
Yeah.
But obviously, you can go 1,000 ways with this, but I guess I just But my thought on that was, to sit here and say, well, we can't question what leadership's doing because they're doing the right thing. Like, that's kind of a hunk of crap because, like, if they bomb it, like right now the Brewers are bombing it. Like, I'm not a baseball dude, but obviously it's not going well.
Yeah.
If things turn around, that's great. But if they finish the season on a losing record, they don't make the playoffs, then, you got problems. Maybe they need to be fired. I don't know. But that was my take.
That's how sports work. I mean, that's just the reality of it, John. And you're following up yesterday when G-Dub got up my rear end because I've done more than one segment so far this season about Brewers leadership, specifically Christian Yelich and some of those guys who are more the elder statesmen in the clubhouse. And I see someone on the live stream coming, well, I never said any of that when the Packers were 3-5 because transitions require patience. Sure, in Jordan Love's first year, yeah, they started 3-5 or whatever it was, and it didn't look very good. But that was Jordan Love's first year as a starter, and we didn't know what he was. We didn't know anything. So if Jordan Love starts 3-5 as a rookie, that's very different than if the Packers start this upcoming season 3-5. Just two, completely different situations. Greg says, great on the live stream again. G-Dub says, Grant was questioning Yelly's leadership. Yeah, because he's the team's veteran, right? And I think historically he's been very soft-spoken. And I just think the team needs a little bit more from him, especially now that Adames is gone. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
It's Uncle Packer. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, Uncle Packer. How about you?
I'm so happy. Just a lot of good things to talk about. And I was going to go someplace kind of weird, but I'm going to stay in the normal here.
Okay.
As for the Brewers, it's still so early in the year. I mean, I can see an identity. I can see where William Contreras is going to start some leadership. And I can see, these guys are just learning. We got so many young players. I think, and some of them look like they're like 6 years old up there with the bat. We got some young kids. Who knows? If they take a hold and our pitching gets good, we got some good pitchers coming back. We don't have any idea what we're going to be doing in October, or not October, but like in September.
Or even July, June or July. Like, you don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure that they have. I'm not sure that they have a ton of they have pitchers coming back. I don't know that any of them are that different than what they have now. Like, is Nestor Cortez that much better than Quinn Priester, or is this version of Brandon Woodruff that much better than Chad Patrick? Like, I would probably say
I hope so.
No, but I don't think they will be, I guess is my point.
You think Woodruff would be? I hope Woodruff would be. I hope not. I hope Patrick and the other guy raises up their level so high that they're at that level. That would be great.
I'd rather have more available pitchers because they're going to have to start Carlos Rodriguez this week. And I don't want that. Like, I would rather, obviously, I'd rather have Nestor Cortez or Quintana or one of the other guys. Quintana is probably the biggest pitcher of I guess the biggest name that they have coming back. But it's not like they got a Cy Young winner. You know what I mean? Like, if Freddie was on the shelf, then sure, he's a cut above everybody else. But I think the rest of the guys are much of the same.
Well, with some increase, if the pitching increases, these guys, I mean, we can have great pitching if we can't score. I mean, we had how many shutout innings? We got to get the bats alive. I mean, Kristen's got to lead us with the bats. We got to get some hitting, and we can't score 9 runs in one game and then none in 3, and then 9 in another one and 4 in the next 5 games. We need to get some consistent hitting. But I just want to talk about Brett for just a minute.
Okay.
You got to love Brett Favre as the football player. And sometimes you got to separate football players from men. And it's funny right now that Wisconsin sports quarterbacks are both kind of, I'm talking weird Uncle Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. They're both like really in the news because of what just happened with Brett. And now Aaron's got to release something that he's going to play somewhere pretty quick because before you know it, it's going to be spring training. And they're all to talk about Aaron Rodgers. And I wonder what his deal is. I wonder why he's not performing. Is there some personal thing have you heard about?
He's got something going on, but I don't know what it is. Uncle Packer, I appreciate it. Weeks ago or months ago, I felt this way about Rodgers. I don't really feel it. Like, how many times did we have to see Favre show up in July or August? You know what I mean? Like, this is not that out of the ordinary. Quarterbacks don't want to do this kind of crap when they get older. So I think he'll join the Steelers late in the summer and it'll be fine. I think he'll be a little bit behind, and I don't think it'll be helpful for the team. But to act like this is that insane, Uncle Packer, I think that you're forgetting plenty of examples where we've seen quarterbacks like Favre, who just hems and haws all summer and then shows up because he doesn't want to do all the offseason stuff. 2 callers on hold. I'm going to get to you both. before we take this break. We can go a little bit long in the first segment because it's not like I have any guest planned or anything else. So I'll get to you here real quick. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant, I think you owe Quinn Priester an apology. Great start last night. Or
it was,
I guess, great to come in relief.
He was pretty good last night. And maybe if Murph pulled him a little bit sooner and brought it, you know what I mean? Like his line would have looked better. I have no qualms about Quinn Priester last night. I don't really have qualms with Quinn Priester at all. I just think the Brewers gave up way too much from him, prospect aside. But that's I'm not going to continue to bitch about that. What's done is done. He was pretty darn solid last night.
Now, do you switch into this? I couldn't listen to the show much last week, but do you have qualms with Jaden Reed and his comments that are being leaked to Schefter?
Not really, because I think it's just I just don't think there's much there. You know what I mean? I think Reed's worried about his contract. Yeah, I think that situation was more like Rosenhaus putting on a little show for Reed. And look, the Packers have screamed competition from the hilltops. So like Jaden Reed's maybe a little bit worried, but I think that's more the agent just showing his client like, yeah, I'll get in there. Like we'll get to the bottom of this. Would be my guess.
Okay. Because I read it that, Jaden Reed's feeling a little threatened that, they used a first-round pick on a receiver. He wants to be the top guy.
Yeah.
And I just hate that attitude.
I do too. I want him to catch the ball. You know what I mean? Like go out there and be better. If he had been amazing last year and then the Packers drafted a couple of guys, well, then I think he has a little bit better reason to be like, okay, well, what's the deal? Like, why are you trying to replace me? Are you trying to skimp out on paying me? I think that those two draft picks are much more about Romeo Doubs coming up on the end of his deal and dealing with concussions and missing a practice last year and Christian Watson being hurt. And I bet that along some lines, that's what the Packers told Jaden Reed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, can you really ever have too many like solid receivers?
No.
I don't know. And do the Packers even have that many solid receivers? To be determined.
Nah, it's TBD. I hope that they get a lot more consistent play from Reed and Wicks this year and then whatever you get from Golden and Williams and Dobbs. Dobbs is just such the forgotten man on this team, at least for me.
Well, big off season, big voluntary training camps. During the Aaron Rodgers era, we were told that these camps and these summer practices
they matter
are huge. So I'm looking forward to hearing Mike Clemens' report on this.
Everyone's got to be locked in and dialed in. It's a good point, Cohen. Like if we're going to complain that Rodgers and good call, if we're going to complain that Rodgers and others don't show up, well, then we got to cover him with a fine tooth comb. And I will, because in the summer, what else are we going to do other than talk about the Brewers, which this version of the Brewers only gets us so far. All right, one more call there and we'll take a break. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
All right. Well, this is Adam in Eau Claire. One more thing on the Brewers here. So yeah. I think talking about the management too, it's like I can't be too upset with management. Everyone is so excited Yelich got signed to this long-term deal. If Yelich is hitting 270 right now, no one's complaining. And so it's I was listening to the Casper show this morning up in Eau Claire.
Yeah, Dan.
Everybody's, he had grinding my gears Tuesday. Pretty much every comment was Yelich or the Brewers offense. So it's really not what anybody in the front office has done. It's if Yelich is hitting 70 points better, we're probably up there with the Cubs right now.
Well, and here's the issue, Adam. Like, and you hear this a lot if you listen to Dan and you listen to Sports Talk enough. Like, Brewers fans, we love to complain about two things. We complain about the Yelich contract and how it was dumb. And then we complain about, okay, so you're just going to let Contreras go or you're going to let Churio go. You know what I mean? Like, you either want to sign everybody to a long-term deal, which probably isn't going to age well, or at some point they're going to leave, which I think is fine. I don't want all of these guys for their whole career. I want them for the best part of their career until they cost too much and decline. Except for every once in a while, you get a guy like Yelich or Braun, and then I think you make an exception. I would handle this the same way the Brewers have. You know what I mean?
Yep, that makes sense.
That's a good call, Adam. I appreciate it. Perfect way to wrap up the segment. The Brewers thought. When we come back, a little more on the NFL rule changes and the idea that Cohn was poking at. The Packers wanting competition and what guys like Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, and Christian Watson might have to think about it. We'll get to that next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
What more does Zach Tom have to do? I'm not sitting here saying he's a flawless player. Nobody in the league is. And I understand the idea of getting your best 5 out there and wanting competition across the board. But this almost feels a little overboard. Don't you want a core of players that you can count on when you don't have to continuously put them up for audition? But then on the flip side, if there is a staff that we have seen turning over every single stone and making sure that we are going to have competition at all 5 spots, there are no untouchables. They've been pretty damn successful with this approach. You want continuity along your offensive line. That's what breeds high-end offensive line play. But I will say, the more you think about the modern game and the NFL as it is right now, comparative to what it was really pre this latest CBA, offensive line play is rough in general. Your inability to work together in the offseason, no padded work for the majority of the time that they're together. You do need guys who are cross-trained, who do compete, that have the ability to play across multiple spots. The Packers have been a bit ahead of the curve in that regard. And I do think continuing to push Zach Tom in this kind of manner makes some sense. Doesn't produce great content because I'm not having a hot take. I'm not telling the Packers they're idiots and I'm not completely patting them on the back. But what do you guys think?
What do you guys think? Sound off in the comments. I clipped that part off at the end. That's Aaron Nagler, Cheesehead TV. They posted that short today, and I bookmarked it because I think it kind of echoes something I was trying to say last week. It's this real abstract idea, and I'm trying to pin it down. I'm trying to pin it down in a clear, concise take. And I think I'm getting close. But my take is, and I've been working on it, I think Nagler's barking up the same tree. He might be standing on the other side and looking up at a different branch, but I think we're barking up the same tree. I love competition. And no doubt the Packers should want to always be getting younger and more talented and cheaper, like, duh. But there does come a time where it's like, do you guys really want to scream about competition so much where you start to piss off players who are more than good enough? Like Zach Tom is a good example. You know what I mean? What about Elton Jenkins? What about Jaden Reed? Like, I'm all for guys competing for their job. but do you have to wave it in their face so obviously? Be a little bit more subtle about it. And I think that's kind of also what Aaron is getting at, like a good mix of, hey, we always want guys to compete for their job, but sometimes you got to realize, like, this guy's really good. Like, let's pay him. Let's not mess around with this. Let's not shuffle our feet too much on this. I think that's what he's saying. I talked about that a little bit last week because you just heard from Stanovich and Hafley and LaFleur. It's like, we want these guys competing. Oh, yeah, Love's wide open at left tackle. It's wide open at right tackle. It's like, but should it be? Like, even if that's what you guys are thinking, like, maybe play your cards a little bit closer to the vest. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
This is Louie in Eau Claire.
Hey, what's going on, Louie?
Hey, Grant. Thanks for the Brewers talk.
Yeah, of course.
I think Mark is the easy target when we talk about Brewers roster construction, about his unwillingness to spend money. And that's not really an arguable fact to me. He doesn't spend a lot of money.
He doesn't have a lot of money. That's just the reality. We can yell about it all we want, but I try not to yell about it on the show because there's nothing that we're ever going to be able to do about that.
Juan Soto received a contract for 3 times more the total value than Mark paid for the total team 20 years ago. 20 years ago is a long time, but not really that long ago. To me, I think the Brewers are paying the cost of David Stern's first-round picks. Now, I know baseball is a really inexact science with draft picks, but so in the first round, he drafted Garrett Mitchell, Sal Frelick, Bryce Turang.
Did he draft Corey Ray once upon a time?
If those guys turn out and are really good, they're still not going to be 35, 40 home run a year guys. They could still be valuable players, but they're not going to be big-time power. It's harder and harder to string hits together with guys throwing 97, 98 miles an hour. Every arm out of the bullpen's a big arm. It's really important that you have guys who, when you get a hanging slider, hit it 450 feet instead of down the line for a double. Now, Doug Melvin, I know it was a long time ago, he's drafting Ricky Weeks and Prince Fielder and Ryan Braun and Matt LaPorta and Brett Laurie. There's no guarantee that those guys are going to be great either, but if they are, they're going to hit 30 and 35 home runs.
Yes.
The Brewers right now, even if everyone played exactly how they're supposed to play, they're still going to have a hard time hitting home runs with Yelich not hitting it over the fence, without Willie Adames' 35 home runs. With the last year, didn't he hit like 10 or 12 of them that were 3-run home runs, like second all time?
Yeah.
The flaw is the David Stearns era. Now, Matt Arnold, I don't know if the picks are going to pan out, but he's drafted a first baseman and a third baseman in the last couple of drafts, and of course the pitchers as well. Hopefully those guys bring some of the power back. But this whole notion that if Mark was willing to spend money, they're going to have a lineup full of loaded all-stars. The top of the line guys, even if he wanted to afford, he can't afford. Sorry.
No, I think you made some excellent points. Are you bagging dog food? What are you doing right now?
It's raining up here in beautiful Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Oh, is that just the rain hitting your car?
Well, unless I'm in a kind of a bad cell area spot, I'm not sure, but that is rain.
No, I think it's just rain. No, I could make out everything you were saying. And Louis, I think it's one of the smarter Brewer calls that we've got in a while. They just don't have a ton of players who, even when they're right, like even if Bryce Turang is playing his best brand of baseball, and even if Sal Frelick's playing his best brand, certainly Caleb Durbin, even when these guys are playing their best brand of baseball, they're still not hitting that many home runs, which is not the end of the world, but somebody on the team needs to slug, right? They haven't hit a home run in 4 or 5 games in 2025 in Major League Baseball. That's insane. So they just don't have a lot of pop. They don't have a lot of power, which means you need to string together 3 singles and you need to take advantage of walks, and the margin for victory is just so much thinner. So I think that's a great point about some of these players that were taken in the first round who are speed, defenders, contact, which is fine, but your whole lineup can't be that. And right now their whole lineup is that because the guys who are supposed to hit the home runs, Yelich, Churio, Contreras, aren't doing it. And the other guy who maybe hits home runs has all of a sudden turned into an average hitter, like Reese High. And I don't mean average. He's playing well above average. He's hitting almost 300. He's never been a batting average guy. So just no one driving the ball out of the yard. That's a problem. And I think your comparison of some players that were selected by David Stearns versus Doug Melvin is a very good one, Louie. And sorry to give you a guff on the noise in your car. I just had to ask before I let you go. Let's take a break because we went real long in our first segment, 5 minutes. We'll come back, continue this discussion about the Brewers, and we can continue to kick around some of these NFL rule changes as well.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
The tush push is going to be voted on. And I think that one, the commissioner of the league office really want to get that through. Whether or not it winds up winning the vote, I think is up in the air. My guess would be they push something through, but they have adjusted that. The Packers proposal has been significantly adjusted over the last 24 hours. And then you have the playoff seeding thing, which at least feels to me right now like more of they're setting the stage for 2026. I don't know that after only having a handful of teams supporting it in March that they're going to be able to vote that through tomorrow.
There's a couple of rule changes dealing with what is this? The coaches meetings? The coaches meetings are in Florida. So is this the owners meetings? It's the convening of the competition committee. They're voting on rule changes, whatever it is. I guess the small details aren't important. It's going on up in Minneapolis. So if you have thoughts on the tush push, although we've done this 5 times in the last 6 months. We've done the tush push show. We've done the tush push segment. We do some pretty strong reporting, and Breer mentioned it in there. He kind of couched it. He didn't present it as this hardcore report that the league is using the Packers as a vehicle, but he all but said that. Let's get that part one more time.
Whether or not it winds up winning the vote, I think is up in the air. My guess would be they push something through, but they have adjusted that. The Packers proposal has been significantly adjusted over the last 24 hours. And then,
okay, I missed it. Hold on.
And I think that one, the commissioner of the league office really want to get that through. Whether or not it winds up winning the vote, I think is up in the air. My guess would be they push something through. But
so the league wants this, which was theorized the last go round, and I don't remember by who. Diana Rossini also tweeting today. I think I bookmarked it. Please tell me I bookmarked it. Come on. Yeah, here it is. One interesting note from a GM I spoke with on the tush push: Green Bay is the only team without a principal owner. He believes that by the Packers proposing the rule change, it softens the appearance that another owner is staunchly against the play, even if other teams support it. These owners are such squids. They're children. They have net worths of hundreds of millions or billions of dollars. They are as rich and as powerful as just about anybody in the country. The amount of fun they're allowed to have owning an NFL team, the benefits that provides, unbelievable. These people worry about very little and have to answer to almost no one. And you're telling me that we need to Trojan horse this tush push change through the Packers because the Falcons owner is concerned that Ziggy Wilf is going to think he's a boob. You know what I mean? Arthur Blank is like, well, I want to get rid of the tush push, but what if Walton up there in Denver, what if he thinks I'm a baby? I don't want him to think he's a baby. You guys are all losers. All of you. Bunch of noobs. You know what I mean? Okay, so you don't want Jeffrey Lurie to be mad at you. Okay, well, why don't you go take a couple of your billions in your bank account and go find a way to deal with Jeffrey Lurie maybe being bothered by you for a month. He'll get over it. He owns an NFL team too. He also has billions of dollars. Very little we'll worry about. You know what I mean? Like, if you guys are all so clear and so cocksure that getting rid of the tush push is the right thing, and it seems like that's where this is trending, you needed the Packer. Like, hey, that girl's really cute. Do you know her? Yeah, my friend Mary, she knows her really well. Well, could you maybe ask your friend to ask her if she thinks I'm cute? Like, this is loser stuff. If you believe something, just stand by it. Get rid of it. Vote it out. It's really not going to matter that much because Jalen Hurts is still going to be a stud at quarterback sneaks, I would imagine. It's a pace of play thing. It's a boring television product. The NFL probably wishes they could have done away with this thing years ago and they had the chance, and we all assumed that they would, and they didn't. And now it's gotten to this point. Couple comments on the live stream, and I will also take your texts and calls, 608-321-1670. My Chan back to the Brewers says, Yoan Moncada would sadly be one of the best players on this team. Could have had him for a song. Yeah. Of course, I said this in March. Not saying you didn't. But in March, I'm like, all right, I know Bregman's off the table. Let's talk about Moncada. There was another one who I can't remember. Like, Moncada's been great. Especially, what did he sign for again? Hold on. Yoan Moncada contract. Googling on the air. This is award-winning radio. 1 year, $5 million. Great. Excellent. To the Angels. The Angels cared more than you did for $5 million. So there I'll complain about Mark in a very small, specific instance. I just can't be like some of you Brewers fans who's like, well, why doesn't he just sell the team? I'm not going to spell that out for you. First day of logic school. Why does the millionaire not want to sell his awesome thing? I don't know. Let me sleep on it. See if I can come up with some answers for you. Why would anyone ever sell the thing? Same in the NFL. Why would you ever sell an NFL team? Dan Snyder, everyone hated him, and he knew it. His own fans hated him, booed him, wanted him gone. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to keep owning this thing as long as I can because it's an NFL team. It's a machine to print money, and it's awesome. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Ridge Runner, Mark. How we doing, sir?
Good evening, Ridge Runner. I am well. How about you?
Not too bad. I was thinking of, building on this idea of, nobody likes Mark Attanasio because he's not spending money. And the example you just gave, I think that example not only is a reflection on Mark not wanting to spend money in a very narrow focus, like you said, but also maybe a product of the Brewers front office thinking they're smarter than they are.
Sure.
Or believing too much in who they have, either in the farm system or who they have on the field, and like, oh, they're going to turn it around. We're really smart. We brought them in for a good reason, and man, they're going to be okay. We just have to believe in them and give them a little bit of a time.
They're smelling their own farts up there. Is that what you're saying up there in Milwaukee?
Well, perhaps a little more eloquently, but yes.
Yeah.
Essentially, they're thinking they're too smarter than they are, or they're not willing to look elsewhere for the same thing they have here. Because who knows, this cat that I don't follow the exact folks, but he might be just as good as someone we already have.
Yeah.
Or they may think that and not be willing to take that chance when they could, and it wouldn't hurt them one way or the other.
Yeah. I think, look, maybe there's some organizational arrogance. It's a good call, Ridge Runner. Maybe. And they'd have, on some level, a right to that. They've been pretty good at going cheaper, going homegrown, being patient. Their history of going out and signing Band-Aid type free agent players isn't great. There have been plenty of those that haven't worked. There's been a couple that have. You got to go back 6 years ago now, but Moustakas and Grandal both performed pretty darn well in 2019. Grandal better in the first half of the year, but it's whatever. Who cares? They've signed players like Jackie Bradley Jr., who was pretty crummy. Rhys Hoskins last year in year number 1 was pretty crummy. He's been excellent this year. And even with Rhys Hoskins playing the way that he did last year, I was always down for that signing because when that lineup was humming and everyone playing at their best, he was like your 5th or 6th hitter. He can't be Casey McGee. He can't be 2011 Casey McGee. Casey McGee sucked in 2011. He can't play that role, even in a down year off an ACL tear. Like, he absolutely can. And this year's been great. So I understand if there's a little organizational arrogance, not by winning championships, but just being smarter and more efficient with their resources than the other teams in the division. Okay, absolutely. I'll have that. It's just, man, it's just bold. It's bold. It's bold to go to work without your phone charger when your phone is at 45%. You're like, no, I'll be fine. It's like, or you could just bring your charger, or you could just spend $5 million on Yoan Moncada just for a little security. You know what I mean? Would Moncada be the difference between the Brewers being, 6 back from the Cubs and being 2 games up on the Cubs? No, probably not. But you wouldn't feel like the boat has 10 leaks in it. You'd feel like, okay, we got to figure this and this out, but it's a long season. That's what baseball's all about, is figuring things out as the season goes along, tweaking this and adjusting that. So I thought what Counsell was so good at for so many years, especially with pitching, but position players as well, save for Keston Hira. 608-321-1670. One final segment on the other side of this break for your thoughts and your calls and your texts and your comments on the live stream. A couple of Brewers thoughts. Let's wrap up the show with that next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Everybody wish they could be an NFL quarterback. You get all the notoriety, you get paid all the money.
Brett Favre was a cult-like, iconic figure.
People say he was a football god.
There are a lot of reasons why you might question Brett Favre's inner goodness.
Allegations that he sent lewd texts and photos to a New York Jet employee.
Brett Favre ultimately destroyed my life.
In the life of Brett Favre, not everything is what it seems. He starts to go through life thinking, I can do whatever I want. At what level does that stop?
It's a little chunk from the trailer, Fall of Favre. I'm going to go home and watch that tonight. I'm looking forward to it. Apparently, Bill is like pert near the narrator of the thing. He's in it so much. And from the pictures that I got sent, Bart sent me a picture, but then Zach Heilprin first thing this morning sent me a picture as well. Like, Point Brewing comes out the big winner of this. Their neon is behind Bill's dome the whole time in a Netflix show. So, yeah, for Point Brewing, good for them. What a windfall. This show is not sponsored by Point Brewing, although I have nothing against Point Brewing. On Tuesdays, we are sponsored by Inn on the River in Trempealeau. So as you're looking to line up your summer, and I'm in the midst of that right now, we're trying to figure out a couple of weekends, maybe to go home and see my folks. I take a trip to Montana typically in August. I'm actually hopping on a call on my drive home tonight with two buddies to hammer out some details about, when we want to do what and how we're going to travel. So this is the time of year, especially when the weather's crummy this week, right? We're looking forward. We're thinking ahead. Okay, how do we want to, do our trip or do this or that, the other thing this summer? In on the River is a perfect spot. Trempealeau, it's beautiful. It's just north of La Crosse by about 25 minutes. So if you want to go to the western side of the state and you want to be along the river and you want to see the bluffs, it's a beautiful spot. It's a perfect spot. The rooms look right out over the river. You can see the bluffs on the other side. It's in a spot of the river, too, where it's really wide. So if you're thinking about places like La Crosse or what is that, Dubuque, just south down towards Iowa, where you can cross right there where bridges. This part of the river, it's big, it's slow, it's beautiful. You can see the bluffs. It's very green. The marina is right there. So if you want to bring a boat and go cruising, go fishing, you can do that. Trempealeau Hotel's right across the street. Sullivan Supper Club. Eric was singing the praises of Sullivan's. Awesome spot. It's in walking distance, right? And if you want to do Perot State Park, it's right there. I love Perot State Park and other parks like it. I don't need to camp there. I don't need to sleep outside, which is why places like In on the River are perfect. It can be your home base for the weekend, place to leave the car when you're walking around to get dinner and food throughout the night, and then you have a nice, clean, quiet, comfortable space to sleep that's not in a tent. No shame on you campers. Just not for me. El Morro Vineyard right around the corner. Great for a ladies' weekend or for a fellas' weekend if you guys like wine. I'm not judging. Everyone can be about wine. And then, of course, a place like Trempealeau Mountain if you want to go play around at golf and have a weekend, maybe where you meet up with some friends for a Friday or a Saturday night and you play the course. InOnTheRiverWI.com or give them a call with any questions. You're like, hey, we've never been to this and we were thinking of doing a weekend. They'll help set it up for you. 608-534-7784. And you can like their page on Facebook, In on the River Trempealeau as well. They'll post when any events or anything going on like that. Let's wrap up the show with this. Nick comments, if the Crew are 500 at the trade deadline, reasonably in striking distance of the division, and Mark A doesn't allow Matt A to make a move to bolster the lineup, I won't ever believe he is serious. Well, here's the thing, okay? Let's say they're 5 games behind the Cubs, 6 games behind the Cubs. Let's say they're about in the same spot they are. They're now they're 500 and they're half a dozen games out of first. That's technically within striking distance, but is that a spot where you're supposed to go for it? Keeping in mind that that's not how the Brewers operate anyways. They're not a go for it team. If the Brewers have an opportunity this summer before the trade deadline to go acquire a player that they think can be part of this thing moving forward, like Willy Adames, right? I know Willy Adames wasn't a deadline acquisition. That happened in late May. But if you can identify a player who's available that we want now, but we also want for years to come, great. If the Brewers look like this come the trade deadline, I don't really have any interest in rentals. I don't really have an interest in Band-Aids. But then again, I never have an interest in rentals. And for the most part, the Brewers don't either, because when we have these conversations about buying, selling, what should they do? They don't really ever want to be a team that does either. Maybe on the margins. If they suck this year, they might deal Rhys Hoskins. And if they turn it around, maybe they acquire a reliever or an outfielder. But that's not hardcore going all in. That's not hardcore having a fire sale. The way that the Brewers are doing this, they want to be in it every year. They never want to go all in and they never want to be all out. So just remember that anytime you think about dynamics around the trade deadline. I'll be back at 10 tomorrow and for Bill Michaels the rest of the week. Talk to you tomorrow.